Hello again, everybody. I fed my ants a little piece of boiled chicken. And for anyone who wants to try this idea, if you are short of insects because it's spring, if like me you use things that you catch around your flat, it's very, very easy. It was a normal container of chicken breasts, which I cooked with. But when you take the chicken out of just a standard supermarket plastic container, if you look in the bottom afterwards, after you've taken out everything that you're going to cook with, you'll discover these little flakes, like slivers, little tiny bits. And then what I did was I just put it in a cup, boil the kettle, pour boiling water over it in the cup, and it boils it instantly. It's so small and tiny that it cooks in, you just leave it in there for about 1 minute and it's fully cooked. And then I sliced it into, using a sharp knife, into tiny, tiny little pieces, that's breadcrumb sized pieces. And it was a tiny little bit anyway, but by the size of the ants, it was still really big. And I fed that to them and they loved it. It's pure protein. There's no salt or any additives in it because it was just a straightforward chicken breast. But anyway, that and the warm weather and the fact that they heard that my test tube colonies were getting ahead means that they've started the pupa factory for this year. So I've seen the little area they're creating here, where they're bringing bits of debris, bits of cotton wool, and bits of sand, and creating the little factory where they're processing the pupa through. And I got some lovely shots of this one here just building its cocoon. You can see it's covered in the scaffold, and you can see it moving inside the scaffold. I got the camera in even closer. You can see how active the larvae are when they're making a pupa. You can see the one stood out on its own beside as well, how much they can wave around and how active a larvae actually is. I mean, they can't move across the ground. They can't crawl, but they do wave their heads an awful lot. And yes, this is great news. Here's the first pupa of the new season finished, and they're clearly going to just process loads and loads and loads now. So it's going to be the start of the, as I said before, pupa factory. I did some really lovely shots. I got in really close on some of it here. You can see the one in the middle there has almost, well, not almost finished, but has finished creating like a cocoon now, and so it doesn't need scaffolding anymore because it's already got the very basics of a cocoon, and you can still see it moving inside that very faint cocoon, and it's adding more and more strands to it until it'll look like the one above. And then, yes, this is the chamber next to where they've got the pupa factory. These are all the fat larvae waiting their turn to be brought in. There is a piece of the boiled chicken in here, and they are still feeding them. So some of them are just having a last meal before they're not quite fat enough, but most of these look fat enough. So I'm sure all of this is going to be processed shortly. And the rest of the nest is just a carpet of smaller larvae, which have still got to grow up to the larger size. Just a solid sheet over most of the wet stone area of the nest. It looks like this. The ants that aren't taking part in brood care have moved out of the nest and are living in other areas now. It's just the brood in there, and the workers that are caring for the brood. Oh, and I caught the queen. Hello, queen. Yeah, she's very well, which is great. Anyway, thank you for watching, everybody. Until next time, goodbye.